promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and across the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. The Guinean transitional government moves to resize the political space over the existence of hundreds of political parties. Mali's armed forces sets new guidelines for soldiers on the use of new media, following a viral video of a soldier disemboweling a corpse. Reactions pour in from Nigeria as organized labor and government agree on a new national minimum wage.
The issue of 5 years review is too much, with also the caveat that this is going to be done every 3 years. The next review will be 3 years, and after that pronouncement, we from Labour, just has been said that, well, we have received what the president has promised from both ends.
And Ghana's Medical Association plans to peg the starting qualification for nurses to a first degree. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Let's begin in Guinea, where the government has announced that it will completely clean up the political landscape by drastically reducing the number of political parties. According to the transitional authorities, the process of evaluating political parties has shown that several groups do not meet the standards defined by the Charter of Political Parties. Ogebirika reports.
The process of evaluating political parties lasted 20 days with emissaries from the Ministry of Territorial Administration touring the headquarters of political parties both in Conakry and in the interior of the country. At the end of the exercise, the minister in charge of political parties, Ibrahima Khalil Conte, said the creation of political parties was done through favoritism, and violence has become the companion of certain political associations. He added that political parties, instead of being instruments of participation in the management of the nation, have transformed into instruments of propaganda and ethnic identity retreat. From now on, the Ministry of Territorial Administration will oversee the functioning of political parties. Those who do not comply with the new Charter of Political Parties will fall under the law. The evaluation report is not unanimous, as it has been contested by a good number of political groups. Other major opposition political groups have warned the government against any plan to eliminate political parties deemed critical of the military in power.
Ogebirika with that report. Still in Guinea, the forces of the coalition of opposition political parties and civil society organizations have announced demonstrations in the country in the diaspora. They are protesting against the increasing arrest of voices critical of the transition, and they are called for a return to a constitutional order. Sankule Janko has more.
The latest civilian arrest by hooded soldiers involves activist Omar Silla, alias Fonike Menge, and Biloba. Their lawyers and relatives have had no news of them for nearly 2 weeks. Following the strike by the Guinea Bar Association until the end of the month to protest against their detention in a secret location, the forces, VIVs, a coalition of opposition political parties and citizens organizations, are calling for demonstrations within the country and in the diaspora to demand their release and denounce, I quote, the widespread repression carried out by the military in power. Protests are already planned for this Saturday in Paris, France, and at the beginning of August in Belgium, two countries with a large Guinean diaspora. Aliou Balde is the coordinator of the forces VIVs in Belgium.
Aujourd'hui, on a déjà dépassé avec Mamadi Doumbouya la barre de 5 camps.
Today with Mamadi Doumbouya, we have already surpassed the mark of 5 camps, with young people in the prime of their lives, sometimes under 18 years old, being killed by live bullets. So far, there has been no justice for these young people. These are simply young people who go out to protest for the minimum of democracy or for electricity. Today, you can go to sleep at night and in the morning, you don't know if you'll be taken to prison or where. Guinea has become an open-air prison. If you don't align with Mamadi Doumbouya and his regime, you cannot live in Guinea. This is not what we were promised. Therefore, we cannot accept this. We are obliged to confront this. He must honor his commitments.
Nous sommes obligés de l'affronter. Il faut qu'il revienne sur ses engagements.
The forces views also demand the restoration of fundamental freedoms and the return to constitutional order by the end of this year, 2024, in accordance with the commitment made by the transitional president, General Mamadi Doumbouya.
Sankule Janko reporting there. And in Mali, the General Staff of the Armed Forces now prohibits soldiers in military uniform from posting sensitive images on social networks. From now on, Malian soldiers must have authorization from the Ministry of Defense or Security before doing anything online. Soldiers who violate this provision will be punished with imprisonment from 11 days to 6 months and made to pay a fine of 50,000 to 150,000 CFA francs. This comes after the publication of a video showing a man in military uniform disemboweling the cops. HRTSU has the rest of the details in this report sent in by our Bamako correspondent Aliu Cham.
In a circular made public this Thursday, the General Staff of the Armed Forces indicated that it had observed the behavior of certain soldiers in uniform or without uniform on social media. According to the military hierarchy, these acts are inappropriate, contrary to military ethics and deontology. It prohibits, among other things, public appearances in uniform, the publication of propaganda images or videos, and the publication of images that may offend human sensitivity. These notorious misconducts are serious violations of the legislative and regulatory provisions of the corporation, the note indicated. The document also emphasizes that active soldiers must obtain authorization from the Ministry of Defense or Security before speaking publicly. Violators will be punished with imprisonment from 11 days to 6 months and a fine of 50,000 to 150,000 francs, approximately $85 to $255, the military commander stated. Criminal offenses committed using social networks will be punished with imprisonment from 2 to 10 years. This decision comes after the publication of a video on social networks showing a man in military uniform disemboweling a corpse. The Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, however, invited all the General Staff Chiefs of the various units to raise awareness among the Malian Armed Forces about these practices, which, I quote, do not honor the military institution, end of quote.
That was a report filed in by WADR's Bamako correspondent Ali Cham and voiced by Eche Atisu. Still in the Sahel region, a medical charity organization says its office in northern Burkina Faso came under heavy attack by unknown gunmen this week. Doctors Without Borders or Medicine Sans Frontiers, MSF, said its office was attacked in Djibo, a town that has been under siege by jihadists for almost 2 years in a terrorist-plagued country. Rose Samara Kate tells us more.
In a statement by the MSF late Thursday, its facility in Djibo was a target of a repeated gunfire during an attack that took place at dawn on Wednesday. Whilst the building bears visible bullet holes, medical structures of the Ministry of Health, supported by MSF and water distributing sites, were vandalized, said Doctors Without Borders. It, however, indicated that its team and patients caught up in the attack were safe and sound. The charity organization condemns the violence and calls for what it described as a respect to humanitarian space. Djibo, close to the tribe border zone between Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, where jihadist groups are active, has been under siege by them for nearly 2 years. MSF has suffered attacks in the Sahel region where it caters for the needs of vulnerable populations affected by the long-standing insurgency, resulting in the deaths of personnel and damage of critical equipments and infrastructures. The Burkinabe transitional president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who came to power in September 2022 coup, had promised to restore security and recapture lost terrorists. Efforts to eliminate terrorist groups and their affiliates in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger compels the emergency of the Confederation of Alliances of Sahel States, whose first summit was held in Niamey on July 6, 2024.
Rose Samara Kate reporting.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we are live on WADR.org and on Facebook, WADR English Service. In Nigeria, labor union leaders have explained why they accepted The new national minimum wage of 70,000 naira or $50 for Nigerian workers as proposed by President Bola Tinubu on Thursday. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaero, and his counterpart in Trade Union Congress, TUC Festus Osifo, said organized labor agreed to 70,000 as the new minimum wage for Nigerian workers because the wage reviews in the country will no longer be every 5 years but once in 3 years. From Abuja, WADR's Usman Omar gives us details in this report.
The labor union leaders, speaking shortly after a meeting with President Bola Tinubu, said in addition to the issue of a new minimum wage, the president also directed an immediate payment of the 4 months backlog of salaries owed some university workers who held a nationwide protest on Thursday to demand for their pay. Festus Osifo is the president of the TUC.
Why this became a catch? Because we from organized labor, we have been pushing that the issue of 5 years review is too much, that a lot of economic indices may have changed because we are in an era where things are moving very fast in terms of both macro and microeconomic policies. But with also the caveat that this is going to be done every 3 years. 3 years. The next review will be 3 years. And after that pronouncement, we from Labour just has been said that, well, we have received what the president has promised from both ends. And as I said as well, we made a case for both Sano and Nasu that the president should, as a father of the nation, should look at it compassionately so that we will not have a case where universities will be closed again.
Speaking earlier, Nigeria's Minister of State for Labour, Nkiru Onyajocha, assured that President Tinubu is committed to all promises made, including the delivery of compressed natural gas initiative aimed at making transportation affordable to Nigerians.
Mr. President assured all Nigerians that he's their president and will not disappoint. Recall that Labour saw Mr. President last week and they asked that he should give them 1 week to consult more. And of course, at the end of the day, the consultation came very fruitful.
Reactions to the new minimum wage monitored on social media platforms revealed that many Nigerians are not excited about the new figure. While many say it does not represent a living wage as promised by the president, others simply say they have lost confidence in the ability of the Labour leaders to negotiate in the best interest of workers. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the House of Representatives in Nigeria have resolved to sacrifice their salaries by 50% for the next 6 months to support Nigerians amid the hardship in the land. The Green Chamber passed the resolution during Thursday's plenary following the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance. As Imo reports, the motion was titled An Appeal to the Proponents of Proposed Nationwide Protest to Maintain Peace, Eschew Violence and Open the Windows for Meaningful Engagements with Government at all levels to address their issues.
The motion, sponsored by Ibrahim Isiaka, a representative from Ogun State, also urged proponents of the proposed nationwide protest from August 1 to 10 to shelve the plan and consider patience and dialogue with the government instead. The lawmakers agreed that the challenges are not unique to Nigeria, stressing that the road to change is not easy. In his contribution, the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu supported the motion, stating that 1 year of President Bola Tinubu's administration is not enough to fix the problems of Nigeria. Kalu revealed that members of the House earn $600,000 or $360 monthly as salaries, and they would sacrifice that for Nigerians for 6 months. What they, however, did not explain is how the deduction will be made and which sector would benefit from the cut to improve services for poor households. Nigeria, a country of more than 200 million, has been struggling with security and spiraling economic challenges, exacerbated by the fuel subsidy removal in May 2023 by President Bola Tinubu. Several reforms have been announced since then to address the situation, including restructuring of foreign and local debts, condition cash transfer, and traders and farmers scheme, which have so far made little impact.
Imo Edit reporting. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The Guinean transitional government moves to resize the political space over the existence of hundreds of political parties. Mali's armed forces set new guidelines for soldiers on the use of new media following a video of a soldier disemboweling a corpse. Reactions are pouring in from Nigeria as the organized labor and government agree on a new national minimum wage. Still ahead in the news, Ghana's Medical Association plans to peg the starting qualification for nurses to a first degree. We also have the guest interview and a sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Let's cross over to Ghana, where the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, John Mensah, has urged the various political parties intending to contest in December 7 elections to accept in good faith outcomes of the polls. The chairperson further admonished the political parties to refrain from spreading falsehoods that could undermine state institutions and threaten the peace and stability of the country. In a related development, London-based international research and data firm Fitch Solutions has predicted a win for John Mahama and the National Democratic Congress NDC in Ghana December 2024 general elections. WADR's Accra correspondent Nadiri Tete tells us more.
In her address to the leadership of Parliament during the presentation of the Democracy Cup to the Electoral Commission, which is in commemoration of 30 years of parliamentary democracy in Ghana, Jean Mensah emphasized the importance of acceptance to prevent potential violence from disgruntled party members and their supporters.
Surely there will be a winner and surely there will be losers. And so we all call on our contestants to accept the outcomes of the elections, because we undertake and we commit to ensuring that the elections are free, they are fair, they are credible, they are transparent.
The chairperson of the elections management body also used the opportunity to reassure the public of her commitment to conducting the 2024 general elections with the highest standard of transparency, freedom and fairness.
So as referees, we are committed to ensuring that our activities from now in the lead up to the election and all our electoral processes are transparent, they are open, they are fair, and they involve the collaboration of our key stakeholders, i.e. the political parties and the citizenry.
Meanwhile, London-based international research and data firm Fitch Solutions is predicting a win for former President John Dramani Mahama and the National Democratic Congress in Ghana's December 2024 general elections. According to their mid-year review for Sub-Saharan Africa, 54% of surveyed respondents favor the former president. Fitch Solutions Associate Director of Country Risk, Mike Kroniger, stated that economic issues such as job creation and management will significantly influence voter decisions, putting the governing New Patriotic Party at a disadvantage due to the current economic hardships. For WADR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Medical Association GMA is making a strong case for the cancellation of certificate and diploma nursing programs in the country, advocating for all nursing education to be elevated to the degree level. This significant shift aims to address the challenges in the country's healthcare sector by ensuring a more qualified and professional nursing workforce. Professor Ernest York, Vice President of GMA, stressed the need for a more skilled nursing population, stating that the current system is inexplicable with 3 different levels of entry into the nursing and midwifery profession. He highlighted the dominance of auxiliary nurses, who make up almost 60% of the workforce, and stressed the need for degree-prepared nurses to become the majority. Drawing comparisons with Nigeria, where first degree is mandatory for registered nurses and midwives, Professor York argued that Ghana has the necessary resources and educational institutions to implement similar standards. And just before the guest interview, let's take you to Sierra Leone, where a court hearing a treason case of former President Ernest Bai Koroma versus the state on Wednesday this week adjourned the case to November 18, 2024. The adjournment came after the defense failed to produce the former president, who had gone to Nigeria on medical grounds. Francis Boniface completes the story.
After it seemed apparent that former President Koroma could not attend Wednesday's court sitting, the Director of Public Prosecution, Osman Kanu, and the Defense Counsel, Saidu Bangura, held a closed-door meeting with Magistrate Bangura, after which the matter was adjourned. Ernest Bai Koroma is facing 4 counts charges of treason, the concealment of a felony, and 2 counts of harboring criminals. The indictment states that the former Sierra Leonean president, on diverse dates between 5th and 26th of November 2023, prepared to overthrow the current government by unlawful means. Koroma was also accused of harboring Soriba Mansari, Yapo Sise, Ibrahim Tolu Bangura, Sergeant Emmanuel Salifu Kamara, and Kaba Dumbuya in his premises in preparedness to overthrow the government of Sierra Leone. While his prosecution lingers, dozens of military officers and civilians identified in the coup attempt have appeared before the courts. Many of them were sentenced and a few were acquitted, as disclosed in a statement by the Sierra Leonean Ministry of Information and Communication.
A report filed in by Francis Boniface.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest takes us back to Guinea, where we are being joined by political analyst Abubakar Siddiqui Ouattara, who critically examines the new measure announced by the government to sanitize the political landscape. This means reducing the number of political parties at a time when there is a growing call for the ruling military led by General Mamadi Doumbouya to return power to civilians by December 2024. Siddiqui explains.
From the last information I had, we were about 300 political parties. But from what they said as evaluation, they've evaluated 122 political parties. Imagine with a population of 13 million people, how can we have 122 political parties? And most of those political parties, they have their headquarters in their bags. They are not represented. They are known anywhere. How can we continue considering those people as president of political parties, having the same level of consideration of the real political parties?
But Mr. Ouattara, for any party to come into existence, they must have met certain criteria or requirement for such a party to be established or created. And so is it the fault of the political parties or the system that allowed for that formation, supposedly, without the necessary requirement in place?
I can explain. What happened was that the former government, the formers, because it's not Alpha Condé only, even the time of Lansana Conte, the possibility was given to people to create political parties, to create coalitions. Because at that period, the more you have many parties in your coalition, you were considered as a big political party. So those who were in power allowed a lot of people to create parties and give them the agreements. Now that we are coming to a new period, we have to know what are the parties who are really respecting the different criteria of being a political party. That's why they created this evaluation.
But Mr. Ouattara, isn't still this a measure to suppress the political space in a time when there is a call for the military to make sure that they end the transition by December 2024 and hand over power to a civilian government?
It's possible. Everything is a matter of perception. It's possible because everybody is playing on a certain stage to see how they can go more than the 31st December, or they are really honest. We don't know. So maybe the government in place is undertaking all this to still continue staying there. It's possible.
But how do you think this evaluation will sanitize the political space in Guinea going forward?
It will not sanitize everything, but it will do at least a kind of percentage will be achieved, because it will be complicated, especially knowing the Guinean administration. There will still be deals somewhere. So, but the number at least will be reduced, and we will be able to master the different revendications and the different ways of organizing the election. But the outcome is a kind of controversy because many people are complaining.
Abubakar Siddiqui Ouattara, a Guinean political analyst, analyzing the new measure in the country to sanitize the political landscape. Up next is a sports update with Sankule Janko.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Borussia Dortmund in the German Bundesliga have sealed the signing of the highly rated Guinea international striker Sekou Guirassy on a 4-year deal from Bundesliga rivals Stuttgart. The 28-year-old scored 28 goals in 28 league matches last season, finishing behind only Harry Kane in Germany's top-flight goal-scoring charts. Dortmund have paid the player's release clause of 17.5 million euros. Guirassy declared that he has made the move to Dortmund to win titles while expressing his delight over the move.
When I heard about Dortmund, my choice was really simple because it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. So yeah, for me was the right choice. If I came here, I talked with the trainer for sure, but I know some players here. So I'm not in foreigner. I'm a player. I would like to link up with the team, to play with teammates, and like I said, the most important for me and for my team is to score goals.
That was Guinea international Sekou Guirassy. And the Ghana Football Premier League fixtures for the 2024-25 season are set to be released by the Ghana Football Association on Monday, July 29, 2024, according to media reports. The schedule for all the 306 matches will be released by the Ghana Football Association. Ghana Premier League fixtures will detail the 34 matches for each team for the 2024-25 season to enable the clubs to plan for their full season. The start dates for the 2024-25 Premier League season have been confirmed, with the campaign starting on September 6, 2024. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Krista Mukidi and Maojo Juf for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Remember, we stream live on WADR.org. Do join Alpha Abubakar at the top of the hour of 1 p.m. for the second edition of our comprehensive news package in French and Fushivu. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
This second half of the year, it's getting bigger and better on West Africa Democracy Radio. With your favorite programs redefined, and new shows added for your listening pleasure. From this July, Mondays to Fridays, the rebroadcast of your shows Well Buddy, 50-50, and Varoscope, and other repeated shows will now be broadcast at 9 a.m. every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Catch the latest on Triangulons Le Info, or Triangulating the Information, a fact-checking magazine program, and you'll have news roundup on Sundays and a family show on arts and culture. Don't miss all of these amazing programs and more this second half of the year on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar. It's you speaking.
So musira massive taram, baby. So musira massive taram. So musira massive taram, baby. So musira massive taram. We met that in a bug in your heart. We met that in a bug in your heart. We met that in a bug in your heart. Kom met de dingen bug in je waard, baby.